Jake Claver's latest prediction, he still thinks XRP is going to 750 by the end of the year. He also, somebody sent me this clip, Jake Claver talking about a $10,000 to $50,000 XRP once XRP represents the derivatives market. I just wanted to clarify a few things that Jake said in this clip. Not everything, is all sunshine and rainbows. Let's go ahead and get into all of this, and you could tell me what you think about all of this information. Let's start here. A question asked to Jake: do you still support this high price before the end of the year? We have 2 months and about 13 days left in the year.
We got Molly, Miss Wetzel. She says, what is your updated outlook for this year based on how things stand today? Has your confidence been shaken at all? Still 99% sure on 3 digits this year. Yeah, 100%.
100%.
Yeah. I become even increasingly more confident every single day that passes with the events that are continuing to take place here at the end of 2025, that we are going to see a meteoric rise in XRP's price in the not too distant future. Again, depending on the catalysts that I've laid out, and it looks more and more likely each passing day that those are going to play out this year. Okay. So again, all price predictions I have are predicated on actual catalysts taking place. It's not, a flip of the switch or some magic wand or a crystal ball.
He's got a crystal ball. Yeah.
That I gaze into and I change the future. These are real macroeconomic events that actually will transpire and take place in order to cause a supply shock on XRP and drive the price to the numbers that I've talked about for a year and a half.
All right. He has put a lot on the line with his price predictions. Let's just go ahead and see where to get to his price predictions of $750 to $1,000. What are we really talking about here? We're talking about a 45 trillion to a $60 trillion market cap for XRP. Obviously, we would need to see a lot of the supply bought off of exchanges. We're talking extremely low supply, maybe only even 100 million supply on exchanges available to really send this price skyward. Now, if it doesn't play out like Jake thinks it will, here's Jake telling you where it might go if all of this doesn't happen the way he thinks it could.
Well, again, I have a full theory on all this, how it gets to extremely high prices, but it's a bunch of catalysts that all kind of culminate for the perfect storm for that to happen. If it's just the ETFs, I think...
Let's do the bare minimum. Let's say we know ETFs are going to happen, and we're pretty much sure, we're 90% sure we're going to get a rate cut.
On the DTC. So, I think a $10 to $13 XRP would be very reasonable, maybe even $20 to $25 XRP.
End of year or by this time next?
End of year. If we get the ETFs launched this year, I think that you could see that amount of liquidity move in. Again, I think that there's going to be other things that culminate that cause it to go much higher than that. Right. Just the ETFs, I think that those price ranges make the most sense.
Regardless if he's right or not, Jake Claver has made millions of dollars off of his predictions. They got him views, which got him customers, and at the end of the day, he's a businessman. It worked out really well for what he's trying to do. Obviously, if XRP goes to the levels Jake thinks, he's not really going to care if he was right or wrong. He's going to be, a billionaire. But if he's wrong, he's still going to be a millionaire, right? With all the stuff he has. So I don't know. Some people are I don't know, man. It's a very controversy thing. It gets brought up all the time in the comments, in my live streams. It is what it is.
That's me, but they do it.
The amount of structured products and derivatives. So that's the other, and this is why XRP is going to be worth way more than just what we've talked about here on the show.
How soon do you think?
This year.
What do you mean this year? This year it'll be worth 2,500?
It could be by the end of the year.
Like guaranteed in your mind, like if it ain't done by 2 years, it doesn't matter.
So the reverse carry trade, like these things that I've mentioned, these are catalysts that have to transpire. Like those things have to happen.
Are they coming?
They are on the doorstep.
Are they inevitable?
They're inevitable.
So when that happens, XRP, I start to see it rise. My account's going, duh, 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 duh. Should I liquidate? Will it come back down once it's all stabilized, or will it remain that high and higher?
It'll remain that high and higher. And the reason for that is there'll be enough liquidity in it, like we talked about before, for these counterparties that settle transactions to do that all day long, but use XRP. So Swift settles $5 trillion a day. If that volume moves onto the network when XRP is $100, it'll stay there. If they start settling the back end of the stock market, which is $5 to $6 trillion a day, now we have more demand, and it's going to move to another price and stay there because it's got sustained demand and volume from the settlement of those networks and those markets.
And it just becomes the new global financial system.
I think it'll be a tier 1 asset in the banking system and be highly, highly valuable.
So I should buy some more XRP.
Well, so let me get to the derivatives, because that's where the things get juicy.
Let's get to the derivatives.
So, and I think this is Ripple's ultimate goal for what they're building. They have a product called Codius that's been in beta for a long time, but it's a smart contract.
I just did a video about Codius if you're interested. David Schwartz actually has said in multiple tweets that if he ever left Ripple, which he's doing at the end of the year, that he would go build a business around Codius. So it does feel like Codius isn't dead, that it is something that it is dormant, but could jump forward. And what he's saying here could actually roll out.
Derivatives platform. It's all of these structured derivatives products. Right now, you can't even quantify derivatives. People don't even know the risk. That's why Lehman and all those people failed in 2008, is they had all these, mortgage-backed securities that they had packaged up and sold and taken leverage on and done a bunch of stuff with, which is gambling, but they do it because they make a bunch of money. They can't even quantify their risk. And nobody can tell you how much the derivatives market's worth. It's somewhere between like 400 trillion and like $4 quadrillion. And if you had an accounting mechanism.
But that's not the actual value in the derivatives market. The actual value in the derivatives market is much less. That is with all of the leverage, right? The numbers that he just mentioned. The real value in there is like 10 to 15 trillion.
That could be used to identify all the risk across that and issue all these derivatives because they're complex. You need some smart contracts that are really complex to be able to do this. And that was on the XRPL, and XRP settles those. Now we're talking like $10,000 to $50,000 in XRP. And that's, I think, 5 years.
That soon? 10,000? Let me see what I'd have here.
10 to 50,000 per XRP is what Jake
said. And I just want to reiterate again, none of this is financial advice. It's only for entertainment, educational purposes. So
sure feels like when you say it this many times, it's financial advice. I mean, I have played maybe 100 Jake Claver clips now, all talking about the price is going to go. I just know it's going to get there. These things are going to happen. I don't know. You tell me, guys.
Please always speak with your wealth advisor before making any investment decisions.
I second that. It won't even calculate that high.
Yeah.
What's 10,000 times 49,116?
It's like 5 billion.
It'd be about 4.9 million.
4.9 billion.
Excuse me, 4.9 billion with B.
Yeah, billion.
Yeah.
Let's go, XRP. See, I'd cash out, or I wouldn't cash out.
All right, let's just jump into the math here. The global derivatives market, if it were to settle on the XRP ledger, you're talking about a $1 quadrillion in notional derivatives market actually transacts and settles using XRP. Let's get here. If XRP directly represented or absorbed 10% of the derivatives market, one quadrillion value, roughly 100 trillion. The calculation divides the 100 trillion with 99 billion XRP supply, yielding a theoretically 1,000 per XRP. But we don't have this exact supply right now. And of course, this, is it based off of circulating supply or available supply? I think it's, that is kind of where these numbers go from 1,000 to, 50,000, what Jake's saying. If the supply is basically dwindled, there's not a lot of it, this is where the price can really be supercharged. And so this is representing 10%. Obviously, if you had all of this, this would be 10 to 50,000 like he was talking about. In the collateral backed system, so this is the collateralization model, more realistic. In a collateral backed system, XRP would not equal the full derivatives notional amount. It would merely serve as the collateral or settlement liquidity using the 1 quadrillion base. And so here is the examples of what that would look like. 1%, $100, 5%, 500, 10%, 1,000. The model aligns better with potential XRP functionality, such as acting as settlement collateral or bridge asset for smart contract-based derivatives. Circulating supply adjustment. As of October 2025, XRP circulating supply is 59 billion tokens. Since a portion remains locked in Ripple's escrow, using circulation rather than total supply increases the estimate. There it is, right? That's what we're talking about here. What is the actual real supply? Official institutions such as the BIS report over-the-counter interest rate derivatives averaging 7.9 trillion traded daily April 2025. The daily flow illustrates massive liquidity potential, but the $1 quadrillion notional figure represents contract face value, not settled capital. That's what I was trying to explain to you. Hence, only a fraction would likely require XRP liquidity. See, that's the part where he doesn't explain it. And I think that is what is missing here. People hear the 10 to 50 grand, they're like, oh yeah, right? But when you're actually looking at how much value it represents, that is a totally different story. I got one more clip here. You know, I have a few of them that people wanted me to talk about. I'm just going to play this last one.
If value moves on the XRP, how does it make XRP's price go up? Please explain like I'm 5 in simple words. Supply and demand, sir. So I don't know if you ever took economics, but I've shown my son, like there's supply on the bottom and demand over here. And when you draw the two lines, as supply goes down and demand comes up, there's a point where those intersect, and that's the price that's on the other side of the chart for what something is. So as there is more volume of transactions on a ledger that are needing XRP to be able to facilitate the value transfer of that money or value between two counterparties, that's demand. And if supply is constricted for what's available out there on the market, you would see the price rise. However, I will give that a caveat there. And the caveat is you need enough value in XRP to even start using it to settle. And that's where I think people get a little bit off kilter. A lot of people are like, well, Swift's going to adopt it and it's going to go to the moon. No, Swift it can't adopt XRP until there's enough value in XRP for them to start using it. So that's why I think the ETFs are such a big deal, especially the spot ETF, because that's going to drive the supply shock for XRP and drive the price high enough where they can then start to utilize it. Once it's moving value on the network and there's enough volume and demand, continual demand for it, it'll hold that price. It's supply and demand that'll drive price high, and then the volume of payments on the network will be what sustains it and has continued demand to be able to support a high stable value for XRP.
What do you think is going to happen? We have 2 months, 13 days before the end of the year. Is XRP going to be $5, $10 at the end of the year, or is it going to be hundreds or thousands? You tell me, guys. Let me know down in the comments. Personally, I think realistically, you're going to have these ETFs that come in. That is going to reduce the supply. That could send XRP's price $25, $30. You know, I don't know if all of these things that Jake is going to talk about, like one of them is Tether collapsing, right? You need the bond market to start collapsing, Tether collapsing, people rush out of Tether and Bitcoin and into XRP. Like, or is that going to happen over the next 2 months? I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess we'll find out, right? I'll leave it there, guys. Have a good weekend. Bye.